So hello everyone. Today I'm going to start the most important topic of B.Ed, which is cognitivism, right? So what was basically cognitivism? Cognitivism came in the year of a 1960, 65, 70, around, these years, okay? Cognitivism was the reaction against the behaviorism. Behaviorism we have done, right? And we understand what is a cognitivism. So just see the picture here, cognitivism. Cognitivism talk about the, mind. you know Cognitive development means intellectual development, right? Means cognitivism wants to say us learning जो होती है, it comes from the mind also. Mind plays an important role in the learning, right? Instead of what we have done in the behaviorism says that we have to give external stimulus to the student and we will get the response. But cognitivism says that mind plays an important role in the learning process, right? Just see the picture. Sensations, emotions, skills, speech, balancing, these all the elements are in the mind. It is in our mind. And sometimes हमारा mood variate हो रहा है, हाँ, तो it also reflects on the learning. Okay, sometimes our mood is good, है ना, we learn immediately. Sometimes his mood is not good, है ना, so we don't learn bad things. So mind की जो भी activities हैं, all the activities of the mind reflects the learning, affects the learning, right guys? So what is a cognitivism? Cognitivism basically as a theory of a learning, it focuses on mental processes. You have to remember this line. It focuses on the mental processes which involve, okay, what mind involve, what the mind thinks, which involves how people perceive, how people think, how people remember, how people learn, how people solve problems. This is all mental processes. No doubt behaviorism, okay, some of the advantages, some of the merits, we have learned that behaviorism is a it is another part of another theory of a learning. Being of a teacher, you cannot directly condemn the behaviorism, right? Sometimes there is a need of a behaviorism theory, sometimes there is a need of a cognitivism theory. Now in today's time, constructivism theory is going on. Sometimes you have the knowledge of this. Being of a teacher, you should be aware of all kind of a theory, because when you go into the class, you interact with the many students, है ना, 30 students हैं, 40 बच्चे हैं, 50 बच्चे हैं. So what happens? मतलब basically you are interacting with the 40 minds. So different minds हैं. Everybody has a different style of thinking. Everybody has different pattern of a thinking. Okay, so if you don't have the knowledge of these theory and you go directly into the class and you start giving the lecture, and you think that you have worked on this lecture very hard, and you worked so hard on the lecture and you have prepared and you are giving to the student, but students are not understanding your concept. So basically what is the problem? Problem is in your method. Problem is that you don't know the different kind of a theory. Problem is that you don't know the psychology. Problem is that you don't know the philosophy. And what you excuses, टीचर क्या एक्सक्यूज देते हैं कि ये तो बच्चा ही बड़ा नालायक है ना? हैव यू हर्ड मेनी टाइम, है ना, बच्चा ही बड़ा नालायक है जी, बच्चे को ही नहीं समझ आ रहा. तो बच्चे याद रखना, बच्चा कभी नालायक नहीं होता, राइट? सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द टीचर. So teacher, if he has the knowledge of all the things, all the different method, all the strategies, so then he can convey his thinking, his teaching, right? So cognitivism is a theory that focuses on mental processes, which involves how people perceive, how people think, remember, learn and solve problems, right? Next line देखिए, most important. Cognitivism rejects behaviorism. Human head is not a black box. Cognitivism wants to say that now the head is open, right? Human head is not a black box, as said by the behaviorism. Cognitive theory compares human mind to a computer, and learning really happens there. So what a cognitivism? wants to say that cognitivism theory say that, human mind is like a computer. What happens in a computer? Do you know the, working of a computer, how the computer works? First, we enter the data into the computer, right? With the help of a keyboard and mouse. And we are entering the data. And what is happening? Inside there is a processor. Processor is processing your informations, whatever the data, whatever you have, given to the computer. After the processing, what happens? You see the output on the screen, right? Similarly, human mind takes the input, okay, process inside in the mind and gives the answer, right? So this theory compares human mind to a computer and learning really happens there, right? In fact, computer का भी आपको देखा होगा, existence evaluations of a computer हुआ based upon the human mind ही हुआ. Can you tell me in computer के अंदर कौन सी चीज होती है जिसको we say that it is a human mind?
CPU, processing.
Yes, processor, absolutely correct. Processor. Similarly, mind is related with the processor, ya computer. Okay. In this theory, learners are the active participants. Yes. Now, this is the important one. Right? अब क्या था? Behaviorism में क्या था? Teacher is active. Whatever teacher say that student has to obey. Now, learners are the active participants in their learning. And the mind functions like a computer processor. Information comes in as an input. The human mind processes the information for the time being, and the information is stored away to be retrieved later. Right? So, this example I have given to you. Learning is shaped by acquired learning strategies and prior knowledge and attitudes called schema. Right, guys? तो यहाँ पर कुछ न्यू टर्म्स आ रही हैं which you have to remember being of a teacher, right? यहाँ पर new term has come, schemas. Okay, so what is basically schema? Schema basically, learning is shaped by acquired learning strategies and prior knowledge and attitudes called schema. Schema basically क्या होता है guys? Mind के अंदर ये schema एक pattern होता है. When we compare the any new things, suppose new knowledge has come in front of us, that knowledge we compares with the previous knowledge, whatever we have got, right? So this process is called the schema, right? Simple example I just want to share with you. Suppose a small baby saw the first time to a little puppy, little dog. Okay, he saw the dog. So what he has made the schema in his mind. So baby has made the schema in his mind. Dog has 4 legs and dog has furry, वो जो fur होते हैं, dog के hair होते हैं, है ना? तो baby ने mind में क्या सोचा कि dog has a 4 legs and furry. So what will happen when the baby will interact with a large dog after some time? Immediately he will recognize that is a dog. Remember, so this is a schema. Whatever we have learned, and when the new knowledge comes in our mind, we compare that knowledge with our previous knowledge. This is called the schema, right? And main supporter of this theory was कौन थे supporters इस theory के? So it is given. So I should थोड़ा इसको little नीचे करना चाहिए. Supporter of theory was Piaget, right? Piaget, who was a supporter of cognitivism theory, who gave the theory of one theory. Piaget gave. This is called on the child, Piaget theory of cognitive development. Okay, it is in MEd. Okay, so Piaget, Tolman, Bloom, Ausubel and Vygotsky. Okay, इसको इनको देख लो pronounce कैसे करना है. Piaget, Tolman, Bloom, Ausubel, Vygotsky, right? ये जो थे, they are the supporter of the cognitivism theory, right? So in the next slide we discuss about the main assumptions and principles of a cognitivism. Yes, what is the principle? Means on which principles, किस सिद्धांत के ऊपर ये cognitivism based है, on which principles? Okay, so first, cognitivism focuses on the mental processes. Okay, it is clear to you. Second, human head is not a black box. Cognitive theory compares human mind to a computer, and learning really happens there. Already discussed. Okay, the underlying, yes, this is important. The underlying concept of cognitivism involve how we think and gain knowledge. Right? Guys, जिस दिन आपको ये पता लग गया ना, वो जो 30 बच्चे हैं, 30 बच्चे आपकी क्लास के अंदर हैं, how they think and gain knowledge, on that time you will become an effective teacher. Until or unless you are not an effective teacher, until or unless you don't know the how we think and gain knowledge, right? So cognitivism is based upon the underlying concept of a cognitivism involve how we think and gain knowledge, right? Cognitivism is also known as a cognitive development, right? Sometimes we see the cognitive development means in a layman term we say the intellectual development, what is going on inside the mind. This is called the cognitive development, right? Next principle of a cognitivism theory says that learners are active participants in their learning. Okay, so हमेशा always considers that learner जो है, student is the master of the show. He is the hero of the drama. When all the educational institution, if you say that it is a big cinema, so what is the hero? Hero is not a teacher, right? Hero is student. Hero is child, right? Next principle, learning is shaped by acquired learning strategies and prior knowledge and attitude called schema. और schema का यहाँ पे definition दी हुई है, okay, which I have already discussed. Schema is a mental structure where knowledge is organized and stored according to cognitivist. Definitely, when we interact, when we clear, fourth class, fifth class, sixth class, seventh class, so we are getting experience. वो knowledge हमारे save हो रही है, right? Sometimes we interact with the new topics in the 8th or 9th class or a 10th class. Okay, so वो small topics we have learned in the 5th or 6th class. So we compare and we come to know that, okay, meaning of this is learning becomes effective learning becomes clear when you relate the new knowledge with the previous knowledge, and this thing इसको बोलते हैं schema, right guys? अब हम करते हैं the next heading, the main heading, cognitivism in relations to teacher, right? इसके बाद हम we will study cognitivism in relations to learner. So first we are discussing cognitivism in relations to teacher, right? Cognitivism में teacher का basically क्या role होता है, right, in this theory? So teacher must act as a provider or facilitator and provides needed help. Don't think that you are the all in all of the student. Okay, you are just like a provider, you are just like a facilitator. For example, what happened before starting the lecture, I asked from you the one question, what is a behaviorism? Okay, and Shilpa ma'am gave the right answer, right? So what I said, clapping for the Shilpa ma'am because he has given the right answer. But Shilpa ma'am wanted to give credit to me. She said that, sir, I have understood whatever you have taught me in the previous lecture, right? So here, being of a teacher, we are the provider or we are the facilitator. Teacher के पास there is a lot of knowledge, right? Teachers ने उसको provide करना है, facilitate करना है. Now, it all depends upon the student, how the student is learning, how the student is getting, right? So basically, if you go according to the cognitivism, so your motto would be student should learn by his own pace. This is called the teaching, right guys? It doesn't mean you see from the books and start teaching and you are pouring into the mind of a student. It doesn't mean, okay, because cognitivism जो है ये क्या करता है, it avoids the rote learning, right? So from आजकल now you have seen that such kind of a knowledge, such kind of a things are going on. Okay, just see the example of a convent schools. Compare the convent schools, you know, all the strategies with the others like Punjab School Education Board and other board. You have seen that, you know, at a very formative age, you know, they start such kind of a processes, such kind of a thinking in order to, you know, stimulate the student's mind, right? By acting as a provider and facilitator. So the next point is, under the cognitivism, cognitivism encourage and appreciate students' critical and divergent responses, right? Build on what the students already know. Organize new informations to help learners process. Make learning meaningful to help learner process, right? Use signals, cues to help learners recall previous knowledge. Yes, this point is important. These are the, you know, subheadings you have to explain over, you know, 2 or 3 lines. Okay. So under the cognitivism, when you are teaching, you know, by, you know, using this concept of a cognitivism, so you have to give the cues and signals. You don't have to, you know, present all the things in front of the student. Okay, this is the things I have, you know, you have to give the cues, you have to give the signals to the student just to recall the previous knowledge. Okay, for example, before starting the topic, I asked some of the questions from you. Some of the students gave the direct answer. Some of the students started, you know, looking from the books. So I'm not here to give you the marks and other things. My purpose is that you should be aware that what is going on in the last lecture, you know, it has already come in your mind. Then I started the cognitivism, right? Similarly, whenever you have to enter in the class, you have to, you know, first of all, you have to give some signals, some cues, just to recall the previous knowledge of the student. When they will prepare, they would be ready to learn, then start the teaching. Always remember, right? Activate prior knowledge, right? Cognitivism in relations to teacher, being of a teacher, he has to activate the prior knowledge. He has to avoid the rote learning. He has to motivate learners to acquire useful knowledge using open questions to encourage thought process. What we were doing before starting the lecture, at least 5 or 7 minutes, I asked the open questions from you. You know, what was my purpose? My purpose is to encourage your thought process, right? So give some assignments to the students, okay? And, you know, let the student do the assignments. You have to work as you have to act as a, you know, facilitator. You know, you just have to help to solve the ultimate problem, ultimate solutions, right? But whatever the work, you know, let the student would do, let the student can do, right? Creating readiness to learn. Yes, this is the most important. Okay, first of all, you have to prepare the student ready to learn. Okay, creating readiness to learn, to provide expert guidance, to present himself as a good role model. Okay, become as a good role model. Okay, whenever you have to come in the class, go with the, you know, study all the topics, what you have to teach in the class, right, guys? So it was all about the cognitivism in relations to teacher, means what would be the role of teacher in relations to the cognitivism, right? So, you know, such kind of a questions comes, so you can explain all the points, right? Now, what is the role of a learner in relations to cognitivism? Yeah, cognitivism in relations to learner. Okay, अब हमें ये understand करना है कि under the cognitivism theory of learning, right? Under the cognitivism, basically, what is the role of a student, right? So in a cognitivism learning, teaching learning process is a learner centered. Okay, what was in a behaviorism? जो शिल्पा मैडम ने बोला था, है ना, फर्स्ट लाइन ही उन्होंने बोली थी, इट वाज ए टीचर सेंटर्ड, Okay, so now in a cognitivism, it is a learner centered. Okay, learner is the master of the show. He is the active and participative. Learner's capabilities are accepted and recognized. Okay, means whatever gives learner gives the answer, just give some reward, just give some, even the teacher is smiling now. You are in the class and student is giving the answer, you are smiling in the class, it is also a reward for the student. Okay, you should show some such kind of a gesture in order to encourage the learning. Learner has adequate freedom of expression. Give the freedom to the student, express, let the express in whatever case, जो भी वो express कर रहा है करने दो उसको express. Okay, don't be panic, don't say that okay you don't know, इसका meaning ये होता है. Okay, don't say like that. Developing cognitive skills allows students to build upon previous knowledge and ideas. Similarly, आप देखो ना, if आपका जो baby है, baby will ask so many questions, है ना? When you go in the market, when you go in the cinema hall, when you go anywhere, he asks many of the questions. If you're giving the answer, so there is what you are doing, you are developing a thought process of your baby, right? If you are not giving the answer, right, and you scold your baby and you say that okay, so what is happening? आप उसका जो thought process है, learning process है, उसको block कर रहे हो. So similarly, some जो students होते हैं, they cannot act so effectively because of the teachers, because teachers becomes the reason for blocking the reasoning power of the student. So developing cognitive skills allows students to build upon previous knowledge and ideas, right? You understood this point. With the deeper understanding of topics and stronger learning skills, students can approach schoolwork with enthusiasm and confidence. हमने देखा होगा जो स्टूडेंट स्कूल्स में जाते हैं, छोटे बच्चे या कुछ भी हैं, है ना, दे स्टार्ट क्राइंग, है ना, स्कूल में जा रहे हैं, तो वो स्कूल में जाने से रोते क्यों हैं? कभी सोचा आपने? It does not mean कि because they have to learn a lot of things and वहां पे करना है, because of the some teachers, giving chance to actively engage in learning makes it fun and exciting, right? Cognitivism view provides numerous opportunities for learner. Cognitivism views children as growing, developing, reflective individuals. So guys, यही था some of the reasons, which was seen by the Kasturi Rangan. Who was the Kasturi Rangan? He was the developer, chairman, who gave the National Educational Policy 2020. He felt this thing that, so that's why he has given a new education policy. So according to the new education policy, everything is going according to the level of the students. In fact, up to the class of a second or third, there is no external exam. Okay, student would be promoted. Okay, when we'll do this topic, then we will do in explain in detail. So it is all about the cognitivism in relations to the learner. Okay, so basically in relations to the learner, cognitivism is a learner centered approach. Okay, now we compare about the behaviorism and cognitivism, right? So I think this concept has clear to you. Under the behaviorism, it is a teacher centered, and under the behaviorism, we get the learning from the student by giving the external stimulus, right? By giving the stimulus, we are getting the response. But in a cognitivism, what is happening? In a cognitivism, first of all, it is a learner centered. In a cognitivism, because the teacher has to activate the prior learning of the student. Okay, knowledge of how students learn. It talks about how students perceive, how students think, how students learn. Because when you come to know about the learning pattern of the student, then you can teach effectively to the students. So under the cognitivism, basically it talks about all the mental processes are also responsible for the learning, right guys? So behaviorism में क्या है? it associates between stimulus and responses, lead to new behavior or change in behavior. Right? How new behavior comes under the cognitivism? Associations between stimulus and responses lead to a new behavior. But under the cognitivism, the learner processes the received information, seeking ways to understand it related to already known information, right, within his memory. Okay. So in a cognitivism, what happens when the student encounters with the new knowledge, he relates that knowledge with the already gained knowledge, in the memory, right? That's why it is a student centered, learner centered, right, guys? So it is all about the behaviorism and cognitivism. I hope this concept is clear to you. Thank you so much, guys.